All right, we need to talk about July 10th because a lot of seniors are hearing that a new Social Security rule is starting. And the biggest mistake you can make right now is assuming this is just another headline that does not affect you. It does. And even if the rule does not reduce your benefit overnight, what it can do is change how fast you get help, how easily you fix a mistake, and how hard it becomes to get a real answer when something goes wrong. That is where people get hurt. They do not get hurt because they never heard the news. They get hurt because they hear it too late. They misunderstand what part applies to them. Or they wait until they have a deadline, a missed payment, a Medicare issue, or a benefits question that suddenly turns into a full-blown emergency. So in this video, I'm going to break this down in plain English, show you what this July 10th change could mean in the real world, and give you the same kind of insider-style tips that help you protect yourself before you are the ones stuck on hold, standing in line, or trying to fix a problem that should have been prevented in the first place. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is this. Whenever Social Security changes a rule, a procedure, a review process, or the way they handle claims, the people who usually feel it first are not the people who already have everything running smoothly. The people who feel it first are the ones in transition. I am talking about the person turning 62 and trying to figure out whether to start retirement early. The person who just lost a spouse and needs survivor benefits, the person who had employer insurance and now suddenly needs Medicare Part B, the person who moved and needs banking information updated, and the person whose check was late, reduced, suspended, or flagged for review. Those are the people who get caught in the gears when a small administrative change turns into delays, confusion, and mixed answers from different offices. So if you are just sitting there saying, well, my check came this month, so I'm probably fine, maybe you are. But maybe you are only fine until the next time you need something from the system. And that is why this matters right now, before July 10th, not after. One of the biggest problems with any new rule is that people hear the title of the change, but they never hear how it plays out in daily life. They hear words like modernization, streamlining, efficiency, updated review standards, digital processing, fraud prevention, identity security, or workload management. Those sound good on paper. Nobody argues with wanting the system to be safer or faster. The problem is that when those changes hit the real world, they usually create a period where nobody is fully on the same page. One employee tells you to file online, another tells you to come in person. One person says you need a new document. Another says the document you already have is enough. One person tells you your Medicare enrollment will start automatically, and another tells you that you missed a window, and now there could be a penalty unless you prove you had credible coverage. That is the kind of mess that causes seniors to lose time, lose money, and in some cases lose access to care for weeks or even months. So what I want you to do is stop assuming the system will catch your mistake and start assuming you need to double-check everything yourself. Let's talk specifically about who needs to be the most alert heading into July 10th. If you are applying for benefits for the first time, if you are switching from one type of benefit to another, if you are helping a parent, if you are widowed, divorced, disabled, turning 65, leaving a job with health insurance, or trying to claim on an ex-spouse's record, you need to pay attention. Those are the categories where one small misunderstanding turns into a very expensive lesson. For example, people still do not realize how often they confuse retirement benefits, spousal benefits, survivor benefits, and Medicare enrollment as if they are all one thing. They are not. They intersect, but they are not the same. A person can make the right move on retirement and the wrong move on Medicare. A person can think they qualify on a divorced spouse record, but forget the marriage duration rule. A person can assume survivor benefits automatically start after a death, when in many cases there are still steps that have to be taken. That is why I always tell people this system rewards clarity. If you go into it confused, the system does not slow down and teach you. It just keeps moving, and you are the one left trying to catch up. Now let's get into the practical side, because this is where retention matters, and this is where people can actually protect themselves. If you need anything from Social Security around this July 10th change, do not wait until the last possible week. Do not do that. If you know you are turning 65 soon, if you know you are retiring soon, if you know your spouse is very ill and you may be dealing with survivor issues, if you know your work coverage is ending, start now. Gather your records now. Make sure your mailing address is correct now. Make sure your direct deposit information is correct now. Make sure your online account is accessible now. Make sure your legal name matches your documents now. If you are enrolling in Medicare after delaying Part B because you had job-based coverage, make sure you understand exactly what proof you need and exactly when your special enrollment window begins and ends. Because the people who get burned are usually not lazy people. They are normal people who thought, I'll handle it next week. And then next week becomes a phone line, an appointment delay, a missing form, a document mismatch, and a benefit problem that keeps snowballing. Here is another major point. And this is where a lot of seniors lose leverage. If you have a serious issue, you cannot present it like a casual inconvenience. You have to explain the urgency clearly. If your check is missing and your rent is due, say that. If you are about to lose access to medication because your Medicare or coverage issue is not fixed, say that. If you have an eviction notice, say that. If a benefit delay means you cannot pay utilities, cannot buy insulin, cannot get transportation to treatment, or cannot afford food, say that plainly and immediately. Not emotionally, not vaguely, but clearly. The system may be large, but urgency still matters when it is communicated the right way. Too many people call and spend 10 minutes telling the whole life story before getting to the actual emergency. Lead with the emergency. Lead with the deadline. Lead with the specific harm that will happen if the issue is not addressed. That does not guarantee a miracle, but it puts your case in the category where action is more likely than if you sound like you are just requesting general information and can wait another 6 weeks. And yes, you should also be prepared for the possibility that different offices, representatives, or agents may give different answers during any transition period. That does not mean everybody is bad at their job. It means large systems go through rough patches whenever they change procedures. So if the answer you get affects your money, your start date, your Medicare rights, your appeal window, or your survivor claim, verify it. Ask the question a second way. Ask what rule they are relying on. Ask what document proves it. Ask whether that answer applies to retirement, spousal, survivor, SSDI, SSI, or Medicare, because people often use the word benefits as if it covers everything. It does not. And if the answer still sounds wrong, do not just shrug and accept it because somebody on the phone sounded confident. Confident and correct are not the same thing. I have seen people miss valuable benefits because they got one rushed answer and treated it like gospel. You need to be polite, calm, and persistent. That combination beats panic almost every time. Another thing I want to warn you about is the false sense of security that comes from hearing, your case is in process. That phrase sounds comforting, but it can mean almost anything. It can mean your file is moving. It can mean your file is sitting. It can mean a step was completed. It can mean nobody touched it this week. That is why documentation matters. Write down the date you called, the time you called, who you spoke with if they gave a name, what they told you, and what the next step is supposed to be. If you upload something online, save proof. If you mail something, track it. If you hand deliver something, ask what record shows receipt. Because once a case gets delayed, everybody suddenly wants evidence. And the person with the best paper trail usually has the strongest position. This is especially true if you end up needing an appeal, a correction, or a congressional inquiry through your House member or senator's office. You do not need to threaten anybody. You just need to be organized enough that when you say there is a problem, you can prove exactly where the process broke down. And let me say something directly to families, adult children, caregivers, and spouses, because you may be the real audience here, even if the title says Senior Alert. If you are helping an older parent with Social Security, do not assume they will tell you when something is wrong. Many seniors minimize problems. They do not want to bother anybody. They do not want to admit they are confused by online systems, passwords, appointment letters, Medicare forms, or benefit notices written in government language. So ask anyway. Ask whether they have opened recent mail. Ask whether their deposit amount changed. Ask whether they got a letter they did not understand. Ask whether they missed a call, appointment, or deadline. Ask whether they still have employer coverage or whether that ended without them fully realizing how it affects Medicare enrollment. The earlier you catch confusion, the easier it is to fix. The later you catch it, the more likely it becomes a penalty, a delay, an overpayment notice, or a lapse in medical coverage that should never have happened in the first place. So here is the bottom line on this July 10th alert. Do not panic, but do not sleep on it either. A new rule does not have to slash your check to hurt you. It only has to make the system harder to navigate at the exact moment you need help. That is why the winners in this system are not always the smartest people. They are usually the people who move early, keep records, understand which benefit they are actually dealing with, communicate urgency clearly, and refuse to assume that one quick answer is automatically the right one. If that is you, you put yourself way ahead of the average person before this change even starts. And if you know somebody who is about to retire, about to turn 65, dealing with a spouse's death, leaving work coverage, or struggling to get answers from Social Security right now, get this information in front of them today, not after the problem gets worse. Because by the time most people realize they should have prepared, the deadline has already passed, the phone lines are backed up, and the mistake is already costing them money.